Okay, hello everyone. This is CounterYolo, bringing you another video in Star Trek Online. This one's going to be quite a bit shorter than my last one. It's just one starship we're going over today instead of 10. So this will be a lot quicker. This is the new Section 31 Battlecruiser, which is from promo packs. I'll talk about my opinions about that at the end of the video. I'll start off with just the raw comparisons themselves between lots of other starships, the trading console with this starship, and then of course those random thoughts at the very end. Feel free to see the time links in the video description. Now, for this new Section 31 Battlecruiser, because it's from promo packs and that it's just a battlecruiser, a lot that's from this ship does seem to have a lot to be desired, frankly. The couple of unique things with this ship, it is one of the few ships in the game without any forced science bridge after seating here. You could just have all of engineering and tactical seating here, and you don't have to worry about any of those annoying science abilities if you're doing an energy or torpedo based build inside the game. It is a 5-3 starship. It's got respectable hull and shields, but as we'll show later in this video, the stats aren't as great as they could be. Also, we don't know what the unique swarm mode is going to be doing to the actual base stats of this ship. It's supposed to lower its base stats of its hull and shields a little bit to increase its turning impulse and inertia. A 1.25 or a 0.125 impulse, that is ridiculously low for an impulse rating. Like, we're talking about like Enterprise J levels of impulse rating here. Like, that's really bad. Perhaps this is a gigantic ship and that's why its impulse rating is so low. Hopefully the swarm mode helps with that a little bit. I'll talk about what that means as well. Again, this is a battlecruiser, so it technically doesn't have hangar bays, even though the swarm mode gives it a pseudo hangar bay. We'll see. Again, just like the anniversary bundle, these are only for Federation captains and Federation allies. KDF captains are once again ignored in this release. As for the Starship comparisons themselves, my initial thought when I saw this ship was, oh, is this just the sticks? Because when I saw them, like, the base stats are pretty similar. 4-4 instead of 5-3 of the new ship, but Commander Engineering, Lieutenant Commander Intel. Just that this ship has a Force Science seat, and it's got a hangar bay that happens to have access to one of the best hangar pets in the entire game for debuffing and for tanking in the game, so that's what makes the sticks extremely desirable for many tanks inside the game. This ship's the battlecruiser, so it doesn't have a command track fire for those that want to use that ability for tanking. And again, if you're going for mines or torpedoes, maybe the Presidio, which has a really strong console set for those types of builds, it's also going to be pretty good as well. Of course, there's also the Zinkethi Centaur from promo packs as well for torpedoes themselves. I've talked about that ship a lot on this channel, so I'm not going to particularly do that again here, but those are also options there that, at least for the meta, could be much more potent than this new ship. Of course, many people that are going to buy this ship are buying it just because it has a black aesthetic to the ship. A lot of people don't like just having to buy a black vanity shield just to make their ship feel like a Section 31 ship. So here are a couple of other black ship options for you for engineering, science, and tactical. Obviously, for engineering, the Kelvin Vengeance Intel Dreadnought Cruiser is super popular. It's from the low buy store, which means for a lot of pricing on the exchange, it happens to be quite a bit lower, even though it probably shouldn't be, as I've talked about in several videos at this point. And all it has is a Force Ensign science seat, so it's not that bad, not that huge of a difference between this. It's just that you don't get any command seating in this starship. The Eclipse, in my opinion, the Section 31 ship in many ways is just a spiritual successor to the Fleet Eclipse cruiser. There's this old ship which came out with Delta Rising back when the first time that we had level 60 in this game, and when a lot of people left the game. This ship at the time was one of the few ships in the game with 4 engines, which was pretty cool. The ship also has 4 engines. I think they're pretty close in their looks, honestly. When it comes to science, we have the Section 31 Science Destroyer from Lockbox, and we have the Fleet Scryer as well from Fleet. Much lower in stats, somewhat lackluster compared to other ships in the game, but it's a black science vessel, so it qualifies for this aspect here. And of course, we have the Fleet, the Fleet Phantom Intel Escort. Sorry, it should be Fleet Phantom, not Fleet Eclipse here. The Fleet Phantom is a black escort as well, fairly fast as well, just like the Fleet Fayette. By the way, because Romulan ships from the Sea Store and the Fleet are accessible to all captains, the Fleet Fayette is accessible to your Federation captains as well as to your Klingon captains. I am including this especially here because the Fayette was shown in one of the recent Picard comics. So this is something that even outside of Star Trek Online is a canon starship now, which is pretty cool. If you want to fly that, you're more than welcome to. It has fairly low hull and shields because it's one of the few ships with an enhanced battle cloak, and ships with enhanced battle cloaks have really low stats, just the way that it works inside of this game. In terms of battle cruisers, we've just recently, for those of you that have been active in the game, you recently earned the Khitomer Alliance Battlecruiser. I don't feel there's a ton of difference between these two ships. You do have a Force Science seat, but it's Science Command, so you can at least take out some of these sciencey things in here with command abilities if you really wanted to. You still get Lieutenant Commander Tactical. If you want to do Concentrate Firepower 3 with this ship for torpedoes, you definitely still can. You could with this ship as well, but this one could have been way cheaper for you. And this ship's dark mode is basically equivalent to cloaks of most starships as well, so you don't really lose that much between the Khitomer and the Section 31 ship. If you want to go full energy DPS, the Fleet Miracle Worker Battlecruisers are fairly strong when it comes to that realm. It's hard to beat them without getting into other types of realms of starships too, so it is a very solid DPS starship. I'm just including this slide just because the Legendary Kelvin, Intel Battlecruiser from the Legendary Bundle, is a decent starship as well. The Fleet Avenger is a decent substitute for that one if you can't afford that ship. Sorry for not including that ship in the last video. For flight deck carriers, because in my opinion, flight deck carriers are some of the best engineering-based starships in the game right now. I'll include some of those to finish off this comparisons part. Fleet Sublimed Silk is my favorite one. It's got 2 hangar bays and a battle cloak, despite the fact that it has a regular warp core and it's accessible to Federation captains as well, which is pretty cool. It still has Lieutenant Commander Tactical to be able to do Concentrate Firepower 3 if you're wanting to do torpedoes with this thing still as well. When it comes to raw base stats, the Botha Rampart flight deck carrier, its base stats are extremely similar to the Section 31 ship. Its base stats are slightly higher while having a slightly better impulse rating. And a lot of its seating is very similar as well with Commander Command, and then a Lieutenant Miracle Worker instead of Lieutenant Intel. I personally think Miracle Worker is a bit better, but that's just me personally. You do have a Force Lieutenant Commander Science seat though with this ship, and you don't have that with this one. And you have 2 hangar bays instead of an extra tactical console of the Section 31 ship. But for the difference between a lockbox and a promo pack starship, I think this is a pretty decent consolation prize, frankly. Now, of course, if you're going for full super expensive stuff and going for promo packs or buying the Legendary Bundle, which is in many ways in kind of the same realm of pricing, here's the promo Miracle Worker Enterprise. You don't get Concentrate Firepower 3 with this, you can only get Concentrate Firepower 2. But you still have the same amount of tactical consoles with 3+1 here. You get 2 hangar bays, you have slightly higher shields, still 5.3, and faster and better turning. Downside, you have Ensign Science. And no cloak at all. I think the Enterprise, like if you're going for promo packs, the promo Enterprise, I think, is a little bit better for what you're getting. But again, Section 31 ship still has its own unique looks as well. And if you're wanting the promo or you're wanting the Discovery Enterprise on multiple characters, the Legendary Enterprise is a decent alternative as well to get those similar looks. Maybe not necessarily similar performance, but similar roughly in terms of looks as well. All right, so let's just go ahead and quickly get into the console and trait itself. As for the trait, it's called Secret Mission. There's some random RNG in terms of a randomly marked foe. Whenever you defeat that marked foe, a swarm of Section 31 attack drones spawn to hunt other marked targets. Its effectiveness of this trait is going to depend upon, you know, how good is the DPS of those spawn drones, how often foes can be marked. Is there limits to certain types of foes that can be marked? Does it have to be like a certain size of ship that can be marked? Can it be fighters? Does it have to be like capital ships? Like, what types of things can be marked and what things can't by this trait? If everything is really good, it can be good for carrier builds. Everything has to line up super well for that to work well. Otherwise, it's probably just going to be another fun trait. The innate ability is called Swarm Mode. While it's active, you have lower HP but much higher maneuverability. And while it's active, you have a lot of drone fighters that will appeal off your ship and start attacking larger vessels nearby. To me, from this description, it sounds very much similar to the point defense system, which is a console that's really old in the game, but it reminds me of the point defense system, but the focus is larger targets instead of smaller ones like fighters and torpedoes, that the point defense system is really good at. We'll have to see if Swarm Mode's actually worthwhile from a DPS perspective. It's probably going to be another one of those for fun rather than for meta or whatever. Another thing that's a little concerning is that Swarm Mode in another way could almost be considered as an extra hangar bay or two, except you probably can't upgrade and get better pets with Swarm Mode. You're stuck with whatever the ship has. So there's that downside. The most interesting thing for me, though, is probably the console, which is called Forged Turncoat. You passively get some extra crit severity and weapon power with this ship. Depending upon how good the crit severity is, that could be good on its own. Additionally, it's active. Whenever you target someone, they're forced to attack their allies. And whenever they're attacking their allies, they have higher DPS levels than normal whenever they're doing so. And whenever this ends, that target is disabled for a while. This reminds me a lot of the IFF manipulator from the flight deck assault carriers inside the game. I know it says cruiser on the STO wiki. That was from prior to whenever the flight deck cruisers got made into carriers. It's just a relic of that time. The IFF manipulator gave you 10% crit severity with energy weapons, plus some engineering readiness, and it did a targeted taunt, which forced 6 seconds of basically attacking allies, and that target that was forced to taunt, the main target, could have a super high amount of damage resistance rating debuff on them for that duration. I basically see this as basically another option of IFF manipulator that is available to all starships now. The IFF manipulator is still stuck to the flight deck assault cruiser or flight deck assault carriers in the game, so there is that one downside to that console. This one's usable by all starships, obviously, so do I think it's worth it on its own to buy the ship? Probably not, but I mean, it's still something there for you if you have access to it. Now, that's basically it for that. Now, as for my little tangent here, the Legendary Bundle, or Legendary Mega Bundle, depending on how you want to think about it, definitely sold extremely well for Cryptic Studios. Because of how well it's sold, and because Cryptic Studios, their monetary budget is by quarter, they are still in their first fiscal quarter of the year right now. And this new Starship, the Section 31 Heavy Battlecruiser, is still going to be part of that first quarter. So from a financial standpoint for Cryptic, I don't think it really would have mattered if this ship actually sells at all, or if it's complete garbage and doesn't sell at all. As thus, I think for them it was just more important to just bring out a ship that was cool and didn't necessarily need to fit into the meta really at all. So that's what they did. If you want this ship, I think you should only get it if you want the looks of the Starship itself. If you're trying to go up because you like the stats or something, there are better ships for that price range for whatever you're wanting to do inside the game. Get the ship for the looks. There are better ships in basically every other capacity already available inside this game for the same price or for cheaper inside the game. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.